afternoon, Dr. Vargas,
Good
and thank you
afternoon.
for agreeing to be interviewed by Nat and I. This is in fulfillment of the requirement of the course with Dr. Diana Perkowski, which is the Foundations and Philosophy in Nursing.
Okay.
So I think it's best to begin by knowing uh, why did you become a nurse? Where did you obtain your basic education, your graduate degree, and your doctoral education? And if you have any early influences or mentors, you're welcome to share that as well.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Persephone Vargas. I got my bachelor's in nursing from the Philippines. I graduated in Silliman University in the Philippines. And I came to the United States almost immediately as soon as I graduated. Nursing was just supposed to be a stepping stone for me. I really wanted to go back to the Philippines to pursue my medicine, to become a physician. But it was during my first year of nursing. I was actually here in St. Joe's. Well, it wasn't St. Joe's yet. It was Wayne Hospital that I fell in love with nursing. And I really loved becoming a nurse, being a nurse. And I didn't want to be a physician anymore. I saw how nurses really were the ones who were there involved at the bedside, providing the care. And I really liked that. So I decided not to pursue being a physician. But it was just at that time, the nurse practitioners were just starting, and I saw a nurse practitioner, and I really liked what she did, which was nursing, but more of it also. So I decided to pursue my master's in nursing, advanced nursing practice, and I came here to William Patterson. After that, I said, I'm never ever going to go back to school ever again. But and so it took a few years, several years actually. I had life got in the way. I had my children, and then the DNP program started. So I was eyeing that. I was not interested in a PhD, and when I heard about the DNP, that kind of got me interested. And then when I saw that William Patterson offered it, then I decided to do the DNP program. So it took several years. I did eventually become a doctor, just not a physician.
Mm-hmm. I see. How long have you been practicing as a registered nurse?
I would over 20 years as an RN, and NP. I got my degree in 2000, about 16, 17 years as a nurse practitioner.
So within those years, what has guided you as your philosophy of nursing?
I think I'm very basic and traditional in my nursing philosophy. I still believe that caring is the essence of nursing, and but I'm also very holistic in my approach, and looking at the patient not just as physically, but as a whole person, spiritual, emotional, mental aspect of the person, and considering everything, including their environment, and providing patient care.
There's a lot of nurse practitioners or doctorally prepared nurses who combine clinical, education, and leadership. And it appears that you're doing all of that. Can you share some of your experiences or even your journey in reaching those roles as an educator, as a clinician, expert clinician, and as a nurse leader?
For several years, I've always viewed myself as a clinician. I loved being a nurse practitioner, and I was in cardiology for forever. And I joined for about 13 years. I was with a cardiology practice, which is where I really grew. I was the lead NP. I developed programs like Women's Health Program and Lipid Clinic and POTS Clinic. So I really, really enjoyed that role. I don't even know how I started with education, but I became an adjunct faculty here in William Patterson. But I still really loved being a clinician. It wasn't until I finished my doctorate and the opportunity to be a full-time faculty opened up, and I became a full-time faculty. And even then, I struggled with a balance between clinician and faculty. But eventually, I guess my role primarily now is an educator, I still practice. I still work as a per diem cardiac NP, but now I guess it probably only clicked. This is my 4th year, and it probably clicked around my 2nd year that I am an educator now. I do enjoy it as well. It's a different role, as you can imagine, but I do enjoy it too.
I have noticed in your email signature that you are a coordinator of program here. Can you describe that role of being the educator and a coordinator of a program?
I have grown in my role as a faculty as well, and with that came responsibilities and the leadership role. So as a faculty, I have become the adult gerontology nurse practitioner coordinator. So essentially, I help out with the director of the graduate program, Dr. Louie. I'm in charge of the AGNP students. So we look at our curriculum. I help out with advisement with the students, and anything to improve our program, we work together. In addition to that, I have also been selected as the new chairperson for the Assessment and Evaluation Committee. And so with that, we work, well, because we're going for accreditation, so we're working very hard in getting all of our assessment and the evaluation data that we collect both from our students and our alumni, so that we are able to present that for the accreditation.
For Dr. Vargas, as my experience, I noticed that there's a lack of primary care in the practice. So as the nurse educator, how would you think that other nurse educator leaders will respond to that need in the future?
The nurse practitioner program in this institution has grown. We started with an AGNP program, and then now we do have a nurse practitioner program as well. As a clinician myself, I know the need for a primary care provider has grown and is growing even more. I believe that we prepare our nurse practitioners a lot more differently now from a few years from even when I was in school. We certainly have higher expectations of our NP. We want them to step up and fill that gap or the lack of primary care providers, and we want them to be competent. So I think that the education that we provide our nurse practitioners here in our program has really met those competencies or exceeded the expectations, and we really want to prepare our nurse practitioners to be good primary care clinicians.
So with the current change in legislation lately, what barriers do you think that DNP will face that could impact the patient health outcome?
I think there are a couple, but primarily with the barrier, well, as you know, like the IOM report, not necessarily legislation, but in some places, well, I guess it is legislation, particularly in New Jersey, full practice is still not available to our nurse practitioners, so we still are required to have a collaborative physician in order to prescribe and practice. So I think that is one barrier. I believe that in other states where it has, they've done away with the collaborative practice and there's full practice now, that it encourages more NPs and they're able to practice in the full capacity of their education. The other thing I think is also important is reimbursement. I'm not sure that it will necessarily go hand in hand with full practice, but it could. One can argue that if we're able to be able to have full practice, that we should also have full reimbursement. So I think that the fact that despite several studies showing that we provide equal or better care, we are still reimbursed at a lesser rate than the physician. So I think that is a big barrier to nurse practitioner practice as well.
So we have read your published article about the Filipino BMI, And from the result, would you think its impact on the population, especially Filipinos or other races?
Well, it is my hope, hopefully, to share those findings and to share that knowledge to clinicians, not just Filipinos. It impacts mostly, not all Asian population, but most Asian population. So I am spreading that knowledge and that information through publication, yes, but also through speaking engagements like researches and even nurse practitioner conferences. So hopefully that the clinician will be aware that there is such a thing as Asian BMI, and that there's a difference, that not everyone is the same size, and just because we're smaller does not mean that we're healthier. I think that will hopefully just address healthcare disparities among different populations.
So, Dr. Vargas, if we look at the statistics of current nursing students or students who are enrolled in a graduate program or even doctoral program, there has been a tremendous increase. So, what advice can you share to those aspiring nursing students, current nursing students, DNP students, or doctoral prepared nurses?
Definitely pursuing further education in nursing opens up doors. And most of us, I don't know about you guys, if you have any specific plans of what will happen after you finish your DNP program. I certainly didn't know what was going to happen, but I think that when you get there, there will be a lot of opportunities that will open up that you will not get if you did not have a DNP education. So, advancement in practice, improvement in practice, advancement in leadership, or even, getting an education role, I think will be obtained by achieving your DNP. So, it's a lot of work, but I guess what I would like to say is that it is worth it in the end to have your DNP. People say, oh, I don't need it because it's not required anyway to practice as a nurse practitioner and have a DNP and like other doctorate programs or professions like DPT and PharmD. But even though it's not required, I think that our profession owes it to ourselves that we pursue a higher education if it's available. I think that's it.
Do you have any other information to share to anyone who will be viewing this video?
I think probably my greatest, what I would like to see from you is that when you finish, you work so hard on that project, so publish it, present it, share it with the world. That is a lot of your effort, and I'm sure it's going to be good. So make sure that it just doesn't stop or end here. So make sure that you share it with whoever that needs to know about it, so that it can make an impact to the rest of the population.
So what's your goal in the next 5 to 10 years?
What is my goal? My goal will be to hopefully be still here. I would like to do more research. I would like to pursue I stumbled upon my interest in research. I actually did not think I was going to enjoy research, and I really do enjoy it. And I stumbled on the health disparity among Filipinos or Asian populations, so I really would like to pursue that. I'm hoping we're applying for a grant, and it's a 10 states grant, and we're kind of in the finalist, so I'm hoping that we will get it, so that would be something to pursue in the next couple of years.
Any other hand?
No, that's
Or
it.
response?
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. We learned a glimpse of who you are and where you are, and we hope that we will be as successful like you.
I think you will be more.
And hearing your experiences somehow give us some push to really complete this DNP. Thank you. Okay, we will send you an edited version.